4 years ago in the Land of Fire, a great peril befell a large ninja village, for reasons unknown. The great nine-tailed demon fox, Kyubi no Yuko, attacked the village hidden in the leaves, Kanahagakure. It is said that with each swing of its mighty tails it could smash mountains, cause tsunamis, unleash destruction. It seemed that all was lost for the people of Konoha. Ninjas died by the hundreds, with no chance of slaying the vile beast. Even the third Hokage could not stand against the beast long, eventually being forced to retreat, if only to ensure that if the village survived, there would be a leader remaining. For you see, the third knew what was coming, and that his successor would not be in this world by the time the ordeal was finished. Hold on for just a little longer, the blonde ninja thought to himself, as he raced through finishing the last of the forbidden seal. The Shirshofujin, a seal created for the sole purpose of sealing away demons, at the cost of one's own life. Running out of his house, the blonde raced for the Kyubi's location at a speed nearing the speed of light. With a throw and a yellow flash, there standing before him was the great nine-tailed demon fox. With a bite of his thumb, 5 short hand seals, and a cry of Kuchios no Jutsu, the great toad Gamabunta was summoned. Standing 60 feet tall, about the same height as the Kyubi, the toad was orangish-brown, wearing a blue vest with the kanji 4 toad on the back, and wielding his tanta, which was about half the size of himself. The toad boss was truly a sight to behold. However, it was not him the people were looking at, it was the man atop his head. The blonde ninja, the Yondaime Hokage and quite possibly the world's greatest ninja, standing 6 feet 2 inches tall, with a Jounin flak jacket, blue ninja pants and shirt, and his trademark white cape with the kanji Konoha's yellow flash on the back, stood proudly, radiating a power which could seem to overwhelm all who opposed him. "The Yondaime has arrived," cried many ninjas from the ranks. The Kyubi too took notice of the great being before him. Not as great as himself of course, but indeed powerful. With a lightning-fast slash of a claw, the great toad Gamabunta was wounded, a scar reaching from his left eyebrow to next to his nose, damaging the left eye. Jumping back, Gamabunta growled, "If you can do something, kid, do it quick, I can't handle too much damage." "I will, just keep us close. If we get too far away, this won't work," the Yondaime yelled to his toad comrade. "I'll do what I can," the toad replied, and jumped high into the air, announcing Suetun, Teppadama, water release, water bullet. 3 large orbs of water fired straight towards the Kyubi, only to be deflected by its tails with seemingly little effort. While this happened, the Yondaime was quickly going through all 125 of the required seals. When Gamabunta landed, he was hit by one of the Kyubi's tails, greatly injuring his organs. Yondaime as well was struck by some of the Kyubi's energy, but at the same time he shouted out his technique, in a voice which rang louder than any of Kyubi's roars. "Fuin Shirshofujin no Jutsu. Seal, for image seal technique." In an instant, the Kyubi, Yondaime, and consequently Gamabunta disappeared. Only Sarutobi, the third Hokage, saw where the Kyubi went. Its energy, along with that of an unknown source, that felt almost like the Yondaime's, was felt entering the stomach of a newborn baby. The Yondaime's son, Namikaze Naruto, was now sealed with the greatest of the bijou within him. The cry which echoed within the barely lit room where Sarutobi and Naruto resided was not heard by many, but for Sarutobi, it would be the most painful experience for him, as he couldn't do anything to stop it. All the remaining ninjas on the battlefield cheered uproariously as they believed the Kyubi had died. However, the cheering didn't last long, as they quickly noticed the absence of the Yondaime's body, as well as the number of corpses littered around them. The cries of pain were not ignored for more than a second, and quickly the remaining ninjas gathered the wounded and the dead, treating or burying them depending on the circumstances. 1 day later, the third Hokage was seen standing atop the Hokage Tower, addressing the people who stood below in the clearing. He was roughly 5 feet 6 inches tall, with short brown yet graying hair with a few bald spots, and in his 50s he was still a force to be reckoned with. Nicknamed the Professor, he knew over 1,000 jutsus, and could take down a small army of Jounin by himself. Addressing the crowd, he spoke out to the crowd. "We have suffered greatly, we have lost many good men, women, children, we have suffered losses of our treasures, our pride, our power, but we are not yet lost. The brave Yondaime Hokage gave his life for this village, sacrificing himself in order to defeat the mighty Kyuubi. He would wish us to rebuild, and we will honor him. We will rebuild ourselves into the great village we once were. All is not lost, and by my life I swear I will protect you all, and that Konohagakure will again rise into a great village. Shouts of encouragement, whistling, clapping, and cheering was heard from the crowd. None of them knew the Kyuubi was merely sealed away, but let them believe what they need to. It is too early to drop such a bomb upon the people again, and knowing their hatred of the Kyuubi, they would surely try to kill the child. 2 weeks later, the reconstruction of the village was coming along well. The fire daimyo decided to help fund the village's renewal, and with additional missions for surviving teams, the economy was improving. With the sped-up economy, the village would soon be completely rebuilt. However, this was not the matter the council met to discuss that day. Kill the demon child. It is too dangerous to be left alive, shouted several members of the council. It is a danger to us all, the seal could break, and then what would happen? We'd have a second coming of the Kyuubi, shouted other members. Sarutobi cut in, quieting the room with a gesture. When the room was fully silent, he spoke, "We cannot kill the child." The Yondaime wished for him to be seen as a hero, and surely if you believed in our Yondaime you would believe in his skills. At this, a white-eyed man with long black hair and white robes addressed the room. The Hokage is correct, and who knows what would happen if we were to kill the child. Perhaps killing the child will break the seal, and that as well would cause a second coming of the Kyuubi. Danzo, a man greatly distrusted by the Hokage, began to speak. Wearing bandages around most of his face and a normal formal robe, he addressed the rest of the council. This is true. We do not know about the inner workings of the seal, however if it was truly weak, would it not have broken by now? No. I say we take this child and make him into a weapon for Konoha. If he becomes a ninja, he may be able to use the Kyuubi's power against our enemies. Plus then he could be restrained, we could control the power of the Kyuubi. While stating this, Danzo was laughing maniacally in his head, but he succeeded in not showing what he felt inside. Several council members agreed to this plan of action, but Sarutobi would hear nothing of the sort. This child is the son of the Yondaime. We cannot use him as a weapon. Hayashi Hyuga, the man in the white robes, spoke up again. Though I don't particularly care for the child, perhaps he should be placed with a family with one of the council members. He will soon start to resemble the Yondaime, and that will only cause questions to arise. Enemies of the Yondaime will chase after him, and if killing him results in the Kyuubi being released, then we'd all be doomed. This child must be hidden. Sarutobi, I agree, he cannot be put with just any family in Konoha. He must be protected until he can protect himself. In order for this to happen, I believe a clan head should take care of the child. After 15 more minutes of discussion, it was clear that most of the council agreed the child must be placed in a clan head's family in order to prevent a second Kyuubi attack from occurring, but none of the clan heads were willing. Sarutobi, then I shall take him into my household. Perhaps if he lives with us, he can at least learn to protect himself while he is young. Since he truly is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, then he will be able to grow very strong, and perhaps he will become the second Yondaime, instead of the second Kyuubi. With this statement, the council took a vote, and the acceptance of Naruto into the Sarutobi family became official. Though several of the members still hated the child, believing him to be the demon, the majority saw him as merely the container, and were either indifferent, or had plans for using him. Danzo. A rule was also made on that day, that Naruto's secret would be held by clan leaders and clan leaders only. If the law was broken and anyone told someone in the village, even their own family, they would be charged with treason and executed. The fact that Naruto was the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki was to be kept a SS class secret, and Naruto himself would not be told until he officially became a genin. Naruto would become a ninja, the most powerful of his kind. Flashback no Jutsu, yesterday. Naruto. Sarutobi yelled for the 50th time that day. He was looking around the estate for his adopted son, and even with the help of several clones, the boy was nowhere to be found. Naruto. If you aren't in front of me in the next 5 seconds, you aren't getting ramen for a month. Faster than you could say Hiraishin, Naruto was in front of the original Sarutobi. Having dropped from the ceiling, Sarutobi was once again surprised by the blonde. Unlocking his chakra at age 3, being able to control it at genin level by age 4, and being able to perform the Academy's basic 3 jutsus, was beyond what even the Yondaime accomplished. Yes, Ajisen? Naruto asked in a military-esque voice. Standing at attention with his fingers in a salute, the young boy was dressed in a black tank top, dark green camo cargo shorts, black ninja sandals, where he got them Sarutobi still couldn't figure out, and styled his hair so it was sticking up and in other directions. Whether the kid used mousse or just had naturally spiky hair, the Hokage couldn't figure out either. Naruto, I need to talk with you about something of great importance. Is this about when I henged to get into the women's bathhouse? A white-haired man told me if I got their underwear he'd give me candy. No, he was dealt with rather harshly about 30 seconds after you left. The nice man is now in a hospital, however never do that again, it is not a nice thing to do to people. Biting back a perverted giggle as he wondered whether or not he could do that himself, he continued. No, I want to discuss with you your ninja training. At this, the young blonde jumped up into the air several times, shouting this is even better than ramen. Training. Training. Seeing the boy's enthusiasm, the Hokage continued. Now, for your age you are already as skilled as the average academy student. Your taijutsu needs work, but for ninjutsu and genjutsu you are already at genin level. However, it is not what you have that you should work on, it is what you don't have. For the next 2 years until you enter the academy, you will be studying all there is to know about the mechanics and theories of ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu styles, in addition to research on the art of fuinjutsu. I promise you that if you abide by my schedule, you will be the best in your class and will probably graduate early. Studying? How is that supposed to help? Can't you just show me some cool jutsus to learn, whined Naruto. A tick mark appeared on Sarutobi's head. Baka, you must train your mind before you can become powerful. Without knowing this, you will be unable to improvise, you will not be a great ninja, you will be limited. By knowing theories, you can create your own jutsu, you can become great, perhaps even as much as the Yondaime. Yondaime. Naruto was quickly submerged in his thoughts. He had only had a brief 4 years of life, but he already desired to be Hokage. He saw what Sarutobi had done for the village and had read about the accomplishments of the Hokages. Naruto learned all he could about all of them, their abilities, their lives, even some stuff he wasn't supposed to know that he stole from the Hokage's office while his Ajisen hadn't been watching. Naruto also loved the village. People were kind to him, not just because of his father, but because of his seemingly natural charisma. The village, aside from a few clans where the clan heads had gotten bits of the secret out, was kind to him, and for this, Naruto greatly loved the village. Naruto knew he wasn't originally the Hokage's son, it was too obvious that he looked nothing like him. Add in the fact that Sarutobi wouldn't tell him who they were, and it became a mighty suspicious situation. Naruto was all the more grateful that people were so nice to him, even though he was an orphan. He had seen what happened to some orphans, and what happened when the Hyuga branch decided a child was fated one way or the other, and Naruto decided he wanted to change the way the village worked, to help people who were not as fortunate as he. Snapping back to reality, Naruto spoke. I will do whatever it takes. Sarutobi, surprised once again at the boy's resolve, smiled. Excellent. First things first, go clean your room, and go to bed, you're gonna need lots of energy tomorrow. With an enthusiastic yash, Naruto bounded up the stairs. For the next hour, clattering sounds could be heard until finally there was quiet, then soon after, loud snoring. End flashback no jutsu. Today was the first day of Naruto's studies. Rushing to the bathroom, he cleaned himself up. After a short bath, he emerged, wrapped in a towel. For his age, he was surprisingly buff. It's not every day you see a 4-year-old with a six-pack. This, of course, is because with all his free time, all Naruto would do was train himself. However, now all that time would be put to better use. Quickly dressing in an orange tank top and some black shorts, he made his way downstairs. Sitting at the table, the young blonde ate some milk and cereal, going through about half a box of the stuff in under 10 minutes, and left out the door to do his normal warm-ups. After 50 push-ups, sit-ups, punches, and kicks, the boy headed back inside with a light sweat. Though he didn't know where his stamina came from, he was happy to have it. Upon returning to the kitchen, he saw his Ajisen waiting for him. Naruto, in order to help you train and study to a greater extent, I am going to teach you one jutsu. It is a Jounin-level Kenjutsu, and I don't expect you to get it for several weeks. It is called Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto's eyes lit up. Not only was he learning a new jutsu, he was learning a Jounin-level jutsu. A Kenjutsu. Showing Naruto the one seal, Sarutobi explained how the jutsu worked, including its ability to transfer its experiences and knowledge back to the original, with the only drawback being making too many clones could incapacitate the user, and the massive headache that would be gained from dispelling the clones. Naruto then set out to the backyard to practice. 3 hours later. Ajisen-sensei. Ajisen-sensei. I did it, shouted 5 Narutos standing in the training yard out back. A non-believing Sarutobi looked out the window, only to see that there before him were 5 Narutos, none deformed, and without being dispelled from chakra depletion. Wow, he whispered. Naruto. Hold them for as long as you can, then come inside and rest. Sarutobi called from the estate. K. Naruto continued to stand and hold the clones for quite a long time, until his stomach started rumbling, which meant time for lunch. Having held the clones alive so to speak for a whole 5 hours, Naruto was plenty hungry, and headed inside to eat. In those 5 hours, Sarutobi reminisced. Knowing that he had not taught his student one of the keys to his success, the old man looked over the house. It hadn't changed all that much since he had brought Naruto home 4 years ago. The estate was 3 stories tall, painted white. It had several rooms on the first floor, including his den, a library, a living room, a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms, including his master bedroom. On the second floor there was just one long hallway, stretching the length of the house, with 6 large rooms, 3 on either side of the hallway. Naruto's bedroom, and Asuma's, Sarutobi's son, old bedroom was located right next to it. The other rooms were either spare bedrooms or meeting rooms for the rare occasion that a meeting needed to be done in his private residence. The third floor was just one gigantic loft, with a gigantic bed, a hot tub, a porch that overlooked the training ground, a smaller kitchen, and one giant bathroom. A family of 6 could comfortably live there, especially because of the various deep couches in the room, some surrounding a fireplace. One wall held even more books than the library, however mostly not having to do with jutsus or any ninja-related business. The training room could be seen from the porch, on the east side of the estate. In the attic of that building was a lockdown seal to prevent anyone but himself or someone related to him from entering. However, Naruto could also get in if he entered with his Ajisen. The backyard was just one giant training field. It was as wide as the estate and training room, and stretched back so far it nearly entered the woods. When Naruto arrived, not much changed, other than the overall messiness that he eventually outgrew, but still, memories of Naruto flooded back, and yesterday's antics just reinforced his belief in the boy. Hearing his stomach growling loudly from behind him, Sarutobi turned to see Naruto holding his stomach. I held the clones for 5 whole hours, can we eat now? I could have held them longer, but I'm hungry. Naruto complained. Sarutobi agreed, and the two went out for ramen. With Naruto's monster stomach, he downed 24 bowls of ramen before being satisfied. With a wave to his favorite ramen cook and daughter, Tsuchi and Ayame, they were off back to the training ground. Now Naruto, the time you were able to hold those clones means you have at least high Chunin level chakra. But don't celebrate yet, you still have to learn to control it better. For the rest of the day and this week I want to do to trees what you did with the walls, climb up them with chakra. However, don't do this alone, get your clones to do it with you. Judging from your apparent supply, don't make any more than 9 clones at a time. Now get going. You have work to do. Yes, Aji-sensei. And with a gleeful laugh, the young hyperactive blonde set off to his work. 1 week later, getting up from his bed promptly at 6 a.m., Naruto showered, pulled on some clothes, and headed down to talk with his Aji-san. Now, what am I going to be doing now? Naruto, now is when you begin studying. I know this may seem boring, but with every bit of knowledge you gain, you are one step closer to becoming Hokage. Remember, knowledge is power, and a stupid ninja is a dead ninja. Do not complain, this is for your own good. Leading Naruto into the downstairs den, he told the young, hyperactive blonde. This is your assignment for the next 2 years. Read every single book here and up in the loft. You will find your chakra reserves and control will increase, and eventually you will be able to make more clones. You should have 5 assigned to each room, for now, in order to get an equal balance for the future. Do not overwhelm yourself with too much of either library. If you work steadily for the next 2 years, you can do this. Gaping at his grandfather and sensei, Naruto slowly closed his mouth and nodded a resigned, sad nod. He looked down for a moment, then looked up at his grandfather. Aji-san, I'll do it, for you. For my future, for my dream. I swear I'll do it, and I never go back on my word. That's my nindo. Then, giving his grandfather a thumbs up suspiciously similar to Guy's except without the scary hair and shiny glint on his teeth from an invisible light, Naruto created 9 clones and went to work. The next 2 years would be interesting, very interesting indeed. A 6-year-old Naruto looked around the library. Having finally finished both libraries, after doing nothing but studying in Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique, he decided to reflect on everything he knew. Using a few hours, he decided to just go over it all in his head, since he really did know a lot, way more than most other people in the village. The only people to really rival his intelligence in general were probably elite jounins or the Hokage himself. However, Naruto had time to spare. He promised to Aji-san his 3rd day that he wouldn't complain, and he never did. He held himself to his word, and now he was probably the smartest kid his age on the planet, unless someone else somewhere did what he did. Still, needless to say, Naruto had become rather confident in his abilities. Over the 2 years, Naruto had analyzed over 50 different styles of taijutsu, their concepts, their strengths and weaknesses, and the situations they are used in. Though he learned none of the styles physically, Naruto's knowledge of taijutsu could rival Guy's, not that he knew who that was anyhow. Most of the concepts included either forced incapacitation through damage to organs from the outside, or through hitting key points on the body which force it to collapse. Upon looking through the endless scrolls and books, Naruto had even found a scroll that appeared to be the predecessor to the Juken that the Hyuga prize over all other styles of combat. This scroll in particular piqued Naruto's interest in medical study, and over the 2 years, he studied many medical jutsu and concepts as well. There were theories on how to identify pressure point based on movements, as well as ways to light up one's tenketsus so that they could be identified and closed. There were even ways to mess with a person's tenketsus through the use of chakra, charged needles, and precision throwing. In addition to this knowledge, Naruto found styles which combined slow and strong strikes with quick jabs, and taijutsu styles that incorporated medical jutsu such as chakra scalpels and element swords of fire, wind, and lightning. Though these jutsu would be incredibly difficult to perform, they would be theoretically possible. The Raijin sword the Nidaime Hokage used likely inspired this style of combat, even if the Nidaime rarely used the sword for physical combat to begin with. More concepts such as those of hitting and breaking joints, using spinning to create momentum and power without loss of speed, and using certain moves to grapple and choke an opponent, along with many other styles, piqued Naruto's interest to the point where he began taking notes to create his own style of fighting. Though the name came in stages, Naruto eventually named his style Dance of the Nine-Tailed Fox, for the destructive nature of the style in addition to the seemingly unbeatable defense created by keeping on the attack. In addition, because of his seal work, Naruto quickly began using gravity seals to increase his strength, and by the end of the 2 years, his strength was that of a low-level chunin. Admittedly, had more time been spent training his body, he probably could have brought that power up. However, taijutsu was not his only focus. For genjutsu, Naruto learned about the senses, how to manipulate airwaves with chakra, and a few other basic genjutsu skills. However, most of the time spent on this section of the library was spent on looking through the genjutsu scrolls and books, almost all of which had to do with the theory of the art. The main theory of genjutsu is to use it to fool your enemy into thinking differently than normal. Upon looking through the scrolls, Naruto encountered many different kinds, including lower levels which only dealt with 1 or 2 senses, up to higher level ones that can block all of a shinobi's senses, including touch, smell, taste, hearing, sight, and chakra resonance, sensing another person's chakra signature. In addition, he learned of the true use of illusions, images that appear to be real but aren't. Recorded in the scrolls were various descriptions of techniques which supposedly created horrific images in order to incapacitate a ninja with their own fear. Along with this, were genjutsus which would lure shinobis into traps, or make it so every time a shinobi thought they were going left, they would move to their right. More and more ideas flew towards Naruto, as the possibilities grew with more knowledge. One of the most practical and funny jutsus he thought of came from that time he had fetched women's underwear for that elderly white-haired man. Because of the knowledge gained from the general library, Naruto could now identify people like him as perverts, but his also gave way to the idea of a new use of henge. Having one day found a copy of Ika Ika Paradise among the books in the main library on the 3rd floor, Naruto created his own jutsu to deal with perverts, christened Oiroke no Jutsu, sexy technique. The first time the boy used it was a little over a month ago. 1 month ago. Heihachi-san, Naruto piped up as he left the library to go to sleep, not noticing the middle-aged female diplomat with his grandfather in the private meeting room. Naruto, I told you. I'm not old and don't call me that in front of guests. Sarutobi told his young adopted son. Gomen, I did not see the woman next to you. Still, can I show you a great jutsu I came up with? I guarantee it'll knock you out like a light. Naruto's voice grew gradually over the course of the sentence, and before Sarutobi could respond, Naruto had shouted Oiroke no Jutsu, and turned into a 16-year-old girl, completely nude. Wisps of smoke covered the naughtier bits, but she was still a beautiful woman. Long blonde pigtails ran halfway down her back, sky-blue eyes, whisker marks, giving that little bit of cat naughtiness, large shapely breasts, a sleek thin body, long luscious legs, and striking a seductive pose. Naruto-chan now stood before an unconscious Hokage, with blood streaming from his nose, positioned about 3 feet behind where he was due to the force of the burst. When Naruto cancelled the jutsu, he looked over to the woman, who still had a giant sweat drop on her head. Trying to be polite, Naruto offered for her to stay the night. In order to solidify relationships, the diplomat did not reveal the embarrassing situation, though she had quite a thing to tell people should the alliance falter. End flashback. Though his genjutsu and taijutsu skills grew, ninjutsu was quickly became the favorite. Having studied the theories of basic chakra control, as well as more advanced theories and uses for chakra, Naruto found new ways to practice chakra control that could quickly raise a ninja to Jounin level control, if they could use Kage Bunshin well. The idea Naruto came across is that the hardest way to control chakra is to center it in one body part, then release it. The hardest form of control is to try to release chakra from a single tenketsu, instead of a large area. By dispelling Kage Bunshin, the controller can try to make sure the chakra returns to a specific tenketsu on the body. Since the chakra has to enter the body, forcing outside chakra to enter at a certain point means training control outside and within the body. Doing this for 2 years, Naruto's chakra control rose up to that of an experienced Jounin medic nin, rivaling Tsunade's. Because of this, Naruto was able to reach 100 clones staying alive for more than a day without collapsing from exhaustion. However, this discovery led to a greater interest in ninjutsus. With such perfect control and understand of theories, any jutsu could become simple, once he learned how to mold chakra better. Once discovered that his elemental affinity was neutral, Naruto found that he could perform jutsus of almost every element, excluding those that needed a bloodline to use. Water, fire, earth, lightning, wind. Just by looking at the jutsus, Naruto found himself pretty sure that he could use them even if only working on them for a short amount of time. Thus, the idea of causing mass destruction with very little drain on himself became a most attractive idea, and over the course of the 2 years, Naruto could manipulate all of the 5 possible elements for him, and do it well. Naruto even created some double-element ninjutsus, including a lightning-enhanced Katon Housenka no Jutsu, fire release, phoenix flower technique, and a water-enhanced earth jutsu, Doton Suiton, Teppadama no Jutsu, earth-water release, mud bullet, a new technique created by Naruto which functions like the Housenka, but stick the opponent to the ground. As said before, ninjutsu was a talent for Naruto. However, out of all these talents, the one for which Naruto held the greatest affinity was Fuinjutsu, the art of sealing. The possibility to create powerful, unbeatable jutsus was at Naruto's fingertips when he came upon the first Fuinjutsu scroll. This form of technique took up the most space in the library, over 400 scrolls on the theory, kinds of seals, uses, concepts, and more all within the library's walls. Scrolls of sealing were the most interesting, and according to several sources, their power went up to the point where demons could be sealed away, since that was really the only way to dispose of them. Of course, along with his normal reading in the loft on the 3rd floor, Naruto learned a great many things about the sealing of the Kyuubi no Kitsune no Yukai, and how his hero, the Yondaime, managed to seal the creature, despite that he had been told it had been killed, in fact, on the day of his birthday. Seeing that this was knowledge privy only to the Hokage, Naruto took great interest in reading about it and found that the Kyuubi had been sealed into a newborn child. However, it was then that Naruto noticed he had ventured into Ajisen's personal section of the library, and decided to ignore what he saw and ask said Hokage about it sometime later. A 6-year-old should not know such things, he thought, and I don't want to make him angry. I'll ask when I come across a seal like that one, so I have an excuse. Continued study in Fuinjutsu showed such possibilities as sealing enemies, at a more advanced level, sealing items, and making explosives. If there was a faster way to do seals than drawing them, then Fuinjutsu would be the most powerful type. As the 2 years came to an end, after having read and learned so much, and increasing his knowledge to a point where very few would ever outsmart him, Old Man Hokage decided to give Naruto a written test based on the subjects, questions only he and perhaps Kakashi or Shikaku Naruto could answer. However, Naruto passed with flying colors, and at this point, Sarutobi labeled him a prodigy. Truly, he was a genius ninja. The next day, Naruto was to be sent to the academy, however, this led to a heated discussion. Ajisen. I know way more than anyone else there, and I bet I'm better at everything than all of them. Why do I have to go to the academy? Naruto, you may be a prodigy, but you can't just get everything your way. It will be a beneficial experience for you. Plus, you'll be able to make some friends. You haven't been out of this house once these whole 2 years, except 2 or 3 times for ramen. You've worked plenty for your age, and your youth only comes once. Have fun for once. But can't I just graduate early? Can't you promote me to genin or something? Naruto continued whining while leaving Sarutobi deep in thought. He's right. He's far beyond the level of any genin, and most chunin, and I promised the council that I would increase his power to the point where he could help in combat, really nothing I can do. Sarutobi snapped out of his thoughts and returned to talking to Naruto. Naruto, be quiet and let me think. I can't make him jounin, he isn't mature enough, however, he could pass as a chunin. But how to make him act more responsibly? Once again snapping from his thought, Sarutobi put on a malicious grin. Oh Naruto, Sarutobi whispered in a devilish tone. Naruto immediately stopped and looked up in fear. The only time he looks at me like that is when he's going to do something I really won't like. Naruto, you will be going to the academy. Sarutobi stated with confidence and authority in his voice. What? But I'm so much better than them. Naruto yelled. Sarutobi simply nodded in agreement before continuing on. Yes, That is true, but what you lack is humbleness, you lack responsibility. You may be a great strategist, but you are not a leader. You have great knowledge that would be beneficial to spread. You will be going to the academy as a teacher." At this, Naruto's jaw dropped. Why was the only response Naruto could think of in his current predicament. With the eloquence of a practiced speaker, Sarutobi replied in a steady voice. The previous teacher, Iruka-sensei, lost his assistant Mizuki a few days ago, since the traitor attempted to use a student who wanted to graduate to steal the forbidden scroll. Iruka needs a new assistant, and what better way than to send my prodigy of a son to him to help? You'll be able to play with children your own age, and at the same time learn what it takes to act like a responsible adult, while remaining humble and an authority a step above you. I will inform Iruka of the change in plans. Report there at 5:30 a.m. tomorrow morning and meet with him. He's the one with the scar on his nose and pineapple nose, room 105. Now go get some rest, and make sure you do as he says. If I hear any complaints from him, I'm restricting your use of the library. The ultimate penalty. The look of horror on Naruto's face at the thought of his research being stopped was plenty of evidence for Sarutobi that he had reached Naruto. Also, the thought of getting up even earlier, at about 5 a.m. in order to be there on time, struck Naruto as possibly one of the worst schedule adjustments of all time. Being that it was already 9 p.m., Naruto went off to bed. Tomorrow would be a strange day. Getting up at the blissful time of 6 a.m., Naruto sat up in his bed and wandered off to his shower, took a nice long bath, and returned to get ready for the day. Noticing the nice clothing laid out already, as he had put it there last night, he slipped it on. An old black muscle shirt stretched its way across his muscular chest. On top of this he wore an orange shirt with a black spiral on the back. Slipping on his gray and black camel cargo shorts over his bright orange boxers, he slowly sat on his bed and began fastening his black ninja sandals. Then, moving in front of the mirror, he sluggishly combed his hair, leaving it in approximately the same place it was when he woke up, and walked downstairs. Grabbing some cereal and milk, he downed 3 bowls in just under 5 minutes, then headed to the library. As soon as he sat down to create Kage Bunshins, he noticed something was off. There were no books littered across the tables, there were no open scrolls, there was nothing left to do but reread what was there for greater future benefit, and that is when the conversation of last night came drifting back to mind. Checking the time as his heart rate gradually increased, Naruto saw that it was already 6:45 a.m., the academy started lessons 15 minutes ago, he was supposed to meet with Iruka an hour and 15 minutes ago. While these thoughts passed through his mind, the chorus of people yelling "duh" in his head grew louder and louder. With a scream of "holy F#ings" and a few other choice words that the housekeepers wondered where he learned, he was off at a speed that would make a snail look fast. A moment later, after dispelling his gravity seals, he made a beeline for the academy, however now the snail was somewhat envious. On the journey, Naruto's mind drifted back to parts of the discussion with his grandfather last night. Sarutobi had mentioned that if he taught well at the academy, that 6 years from now when that class graduated, he would be permitted to rise to the rank of Chunin. The thought of a good recommendation and becoming one step closer to Hokage spurred Naruto's strength, as he increased his pace. Arriving 10 minutes later, the blonde shinobi racked his mind for what room he was supposed to be in. Since he clearly wasn't thinking straight, he bypassed the front desk and ran down the hallways and upstairs until he remembered he was supposed to be in room 105. 2 floors down. Returning down the stairs and down the hallway, he found the room situated right across from the front desk. How stupidly ironic was one of a few thoughts that passed through his mind. Seeing the young blonde simply staring at the door, the young receptionist shinobi on duty decided to find out what was going on. "Excuse me? Ahem, sir? Do you need some help?" Looking over, Naruto found himself staring at quite possibly the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She was roughly 14 years old, 5 feet 8 inches with blonde hair down to her mid-back and a cute round face. Her bust was average size, and she appeared to be in great shape, as though she trained every day. She had a great natural beauty about her, one you couldn't develop, you had to be born with a body like that. However, Naruto suppressed his blush, mostly because of the overwhelming feeling of shock from seeing her weapon. Leaning on the side of the desk was a sword the size of her that appeared to be giving off its own green chakra. The unusual weapon was emitting a humming noise the closer Naruto moved towards it, however God only knows why. Ahem, yeah. I'm here to meet with Iruka-sensei. I'm kinda late, Naruto said, stuttering only slightly, though she didn't appear to notice. Ah, so you're a student? Well, feel free to go right in. He's an easygoing guy and it's the first day, so you should be fine. She spoke in a confident tone, as her sword continued to hum. The fact that it was changing tone, as if singing a tune, only served to unnerve Naruto further. No. I'm his teaching assistant. I was supposed to be here about an hour and a half ago. I overslept a little. This time, feeling a bit overwhelmed, he decided to figure out something about her. Miss. What's your name? Aliera, and don't be so nervous. Ki, my sword, won't hurt you. It's just happy to have someone around with lots of chakra. You'll be fine. So, you're the teaching assistant? Tell you what, I'll just ask him to take a break for a moment so you won't be interrupting his class directly. That sound okay with you? Yeah. Thanks, that sounds perfect. Naruto subsequently became less nervous when the sword suddenly stopped humming. Holding down a small intercom button, Aliera announced through the PA, Iruka, we have someone here to see you, could you please report to the front desk? With that, they waited only a few moments before Iruka emerged from his classroom, asking Aliera, why can't you just knock on my door? I'm only 10 feet away, you know. Sorry, couldn't be bothered. I've got to go deliver some stuff to a teacher upstairs, I'll leave you two alone. And with that, the mysterious woman grabbed her sword and walked upstairs. Iruka then turned to Naruto. So, you're Sarutobi's kid then? You're late, kid, really, really late. Tell you what, I know what happens to you if Sarutobi gets a bad report from me, so if you can go in there, prove your worth, and keep those kids awake for the entire lecture, then I'll let this little error pass by. Over the course of this little talk, Naruto's expression changed from fear, to acceptance, to enthusiasm. At this, Iruka smiled and walked back into the classroom, Naruto following closely behind. As they entered the room, few had turned, most of the children just kept talking with their friends. Iruka gave Naruto a little wink, signaling for him to get the room's attention. Naruto winked back and began doing hand seals. 25 seals and 3 seconds later, he announced his jutsu. Raitun, Thunderclap no Jutsu. At the announcement of this jutsu, Iruka quickly covered his ears, while the rest of the genins heard Thunderclap loud enough for their ear to pop, and in Kiba's case, cause him to roll to the ground in pain. Everyone's eyes were on Kiba, then on the person who used the jutsu, who simply pointed to Iruka. Needless to say, they got the message. After a few moments, Naruto trekked up to Kiba's location and began healing his ears. After a few moments, he seemed to be perfectly fine again, if a teensy bit sore. Looking at his medic in wonderment, he was the first to ask. Who are you? I'm Sarutobi Uzumaki Naruto, assistant teacher to Iruka-sensei. At this, all but 2 of the class looked at the boy wondering just where he learned how to heal people. The first also looked at him, except with a blush on her face. Wearing a coat and black ninja pants, the dark blue-haired girl with white eyes tried to keep her head from becoming a tomato, but with little success. It didn't help her much that the boy was wearing baggy pants and she could see his boxers, nor did it help that the orange shirt and the angle of the sun made him look a god among men. He was clearly quite ripped for a boy his age, and had a nice tan. His golden hair was growing longer, down his neck, and he appeared to be a very knowledgeable person, confident, everything Hyuga Hinata wanted to be. However, the other person who was not looking at him, merely let out a snort. Uchiha Sasuke, prodigy of the Uchiha clan, was not as strong as Itachi but was still considered the strongest starting academy student. Dobe, you're wasting your chakra. Someone as weak as him doesn't deserve healing, especially from a low-class baka like you who can't even get into the academy. Looking down the rows of seats, Naruto spotted the one who had made the comment. Seeing the Uchiha crest on the back, he knew that this class was going to be tough to keep in line. An arrogant clan such as theirs spouting so-called prodigies was one of his least favorite ideas, especially since the Uchihas gained power by stealing jutsu from others. For your information, Uchiha Sasuke, you'd best watch what you say, because if you get out of line here you will pay the consequences. Now everyone look up front, I believe Iruka-sensei wanted your attention. Already I hate this responsibility thing, why can't I just be at home reading scrolls? What kind of friends can you make when you have to be in charge of people? It wasn't clear to the class exactly who Naruto was, even after his announcement. Iruka, sensing this, decided to clarify. He is indeed telling the truth. This is Sarutobi Uzumaki Naruto, our aide and son of the third Hokage. His son? How is that possible? He must have been 55 when he had him with his wife, that isn't possible. Voiced one of the students. Ugh, I knew I was gonna have to explain this. Rocking his head in his hands for a brief moment, then lifting it up, Naruto addressed the class. I am an adopted child, I was abandoned and the Sarutobis found me and took me in, very much like the Yondaime, who was also an orphan, found and trained. I do not know who my parents are, nor do I know my true origins, whether they be with Konoha or some other nation. I am greatly educated in many forms of combat, including various styles of taijutsu, a large arsenal of ninjutsu, and some genjutsu. I also specialize in fuinjutsus, as to be honest, it is probably the coolest shinobi art ever. Saying the last part with great enthusiasm, he got several odd glances, mostly from people who had no clue what fuinjutsu was. However, this did not put off the young blonde. I'm also here as the teacher's aide for the next few years. Since I already know a great deal, I am here to share my expertise and help all of you become genin. Now pay attention to Iruka or I'll use another jutsu on one of you, one you most certainly won't find pleasant. The rest of the early part of the day passed without incidents. When it came time for lunch, Naruto decided to just sit out with the rest of the kids, despite Iruka's offer for him to eat in the teacher's lounge. Sitting on a bench, Naruto took out some ramen in an oversized thermos and began eating. Looking around he saw various kids doing all sorts of interesting things. Various random ninja kids were playing on the swing set, going down slides, and playing on the monkey bars. A kid, who Naruto learned was named Shino, was playing with an anthill, seemingly fascinated by their behavior. Meanwhile, the girl whom Naruto learned to be Hinata Hyuga of the main branch, was stealing looks at him while he pretended not to notice. Who knows, maybe she'll become a good friend. The Uchiha boy was off in a dark corner, trying to dodge numerous fangirls including a pink-haired girl named Sakura, and a blonde-haired girl named Ino. They appeared to be the two smartest girls in their class, but looking underneath it was clear that Hinata had the same smarts as them, if not better, despite her lack of confidence. Then off in the shade of a tree there was a rather pudgy young man, whom Naruto saw to be an Akimichi, though he couldn't remember his first name, and Nara Shikamaru, who clearly had a very high IQ for his age. Naruto may be smart, but that kid was gonna be a genius. A strategist like him is someone you don't want on another side of a war. And lastly there was that Kiba kid, apparently from the Inuzukas, who was currently striding up to the bench with an arrogant smirk on his face, which as he neared was becoming a large grin. The change in attitude Naruto couldn't understand until he realized the kid was trying to act big in front of other kids. Though this did not sit especially well, Naruto couldn't blame him, since he actually thought the Inuzuka clan was pretty cool, if a bit stinky. Hey, thanks for earlier today, where'd you learn all that stuff? He had the voice of a surfer on pot, but it was a friendly voice. I studied scrolls for 2 years, you'd think I'd pick a few things up. Naruto retorted, though without malice. Ah, sweet. Say, think you could show me a few things? His voice was genuine, and he seemed willing to learn. May as well give it a shot. Yeah, sure. You know how to use chakra? Yeah. You gonna teach me a jutsu? Though he was trying to suppress his eagerness in an attempt to look cool, the gleam in his eye spoke more words than he ever could. Sure. Let me check your affinity. Channel some chakra into this card. Holding out a card to Kiba, the boy did as told. The card split in half, then turned to dust. You appear to have two affinities, a rather rare circumstance. Wind and earth, wind especially is rare. Well, I'll show you something basic. Follow my seals. Making 3 hand seals, the young blonde spoke quietly Doton, inner decapitation technique, then sunk into the ground and pulled Kiba down so that only his head was exposed above the ground. Then, turning away from the boy, Naruto walked away. Or was going to until he realized he'd left Kiba in the ground. Turning around, Naruto pulled the young Inuzuka out of the ground and looked him over. Kiba was an oddity to Naruto. The beastly look of his brown hair and face, in addition to his abnormally long canines and the red paint and streaks under his eyes, made him look like a wild animal. The furry coat he wore and gray ninja pants made no great impression on Naruto, so he simply got up and returned to his bench, continuing to eat his ramen. Hey man, thanks. Your name's Naruto, right? A mere nod of the affirmative answered his question. Okay then, Naruto, I'll see you around once I get the hang of that jutsu. Then lowering his voice, he moved closer and said, but don't use that on me in front of girls. The blush on the Inuzuka's face immediately told Naruto this guy was at least some kind of pervert, and by the looks of it, he would have gotten along great with that white-haired man from a little while ago, who he'd seen peeping at girls in the hot springs. Sighing, Naruto turned back to his lunch until the bell rang, then trudged back inside among the other students. Upon re-entering the classroom, Naruto noticed Sasuke squatting on a desk and arguing with Iruka-sensei. Though choosing not to get too involved, the blonde caught bits of the conversation with his advanced senses. However, his advanced were also a mystery to him. Every time Naruto had had an hearing or seeing exam, he passed with no trouble, even hearing tones that no normal person should have been able to hear, and seeing so sharply and in such detail that it seemed as though he had telescopes in his eyes. Yet, these thoughts only briefly ran through the blonde's head, and soon he turned his attention back to the raven-haired Uchiha, and then to Iruka, who motioned for him to join them. Walking calmly up to the pair, the blonde put on a quizzical look, then asked, "What can I help you with, sensei?" A disturbance happened in the room, caused by a fireball which headed towards a group of young female academy students. I know you were outside the room until just now, therefore the Uchiha is the only one capable of such a feat. I am attempting to reprimand him, but... At this point, Iruka was interrupted by a low, guttural growl from the young Uchiha, who then spoke up saying, "Look, they were being annoying and took my food so that they could attempt to feed it to me. I didn't aim to injure them much, so I did nothing wrong." Finishing with a smug smile, the Uchiha stated, "I'm an Uchiha, I only need to become powerful." However, before Sasuke could move off the desk, he heard an unusual sound, and felt something near his buttocks. Flashback no jutsu, 1 year ago. Naruto was sitting in the library, having been studying for the last few hours. It was now about 2 p.m. and Ajisen was at the Hokage Tower. Since Naruto was really having trouble with the scroll he was working on, he decided to say goodbye to his 50 clones and go on a brief walk. However, since going to the village may let the Hokage see him leaving the building, Naruto decided to walk along the outer edge of the estate grounds, until he reached the first of the training fields for genin. In the center of the field was a silver-haired man with blue pants and shirt, a green jounin vest, and a forehead protector which covered one eye. Next to him was a man in green tights wearing a jounin vest and a forehead protector strapped around his waist. Both men looked to be about 19 or so, and were fighting each other. A brief flash of light covered the field, and a half-second later, an odd sound was heard. The silver-haired jounin had just stuck his fingers into the tights-wearing jounin, and flung him into the air, shouting "Ninpo, 1,000 years of pain." The expression on the man's face as he was flung into the air by the power of leverage on his own rectum was priceless. Though it was clear the man could have avoided the attack had he been expecting it, it was a potent move for humiliating an opponent, possibly forcing them to attack blindly, a foolish move for any ninja. With a shout of Ninpo, 1,000 years of pain, Naruto took away the young Uchiha prodigy's innocence, in front of the whole class who was now watching. Following with their eyes, they saw Sasuke arc over their head and land in front of the bookshelf in the back of the class. Rubbing his buttocks, he recovered and got up, though not without difficulty. As soon as he turned around, however, the entire class burst into laughter. Even some of the fangirls couldn't help but giggle, even though their blonde teacher's aide had just taken away the innocence of their beloved first. Naruto, who had also followed Sasuke's path with his eyes, was wearing a large grin that threatened to split his face in half when he saw Sasuke begin rubbing his cheeks. The prodigy turned a heated glare towards the blonde, but remained silent, not wanting to incur another attack. The glares of other girls also struck Naruto, particularly the ones from Sakura and Ino, who were both restraining themselves to their seats, using sheer willpower to prevent themselves from avenging their Sasuke. When the laughter died down and Sasuke stopped rubbing his butt, about 5 minutes had passed, and class resumed. The rest of the day went by fairly quietly, with all the students paying attention, all of them hoping not to incur the wrath of either the thunderclap or the aspoke. And this is how the story of great teacher Naruto began.